Serious, NSW. Former current drug addicts of Reddit. What is the worst thing you've ever done to get a fix? I was using pretty heavy at the time and was desperate for some quick cash, so I met a guy on Craigslist who was really into scat. I crap on him and let him crap on me for $100. He was pretty well off, so it was a reoccurring thing that probably happened about 2 times a week for almost 8 months. I'm clean now though, so that's a bonus. You really should have charged more than $100 for that. That seems like a much higher ticket item. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, I stole my mother's old wedding band and pawned it to shoot C in the church bathroom stall during the Christmas Eve service. Yeah, I don't do that anymore. Clean and sober 6 years. I stole money from my niece who was 2 at the time straight out of her piggy bank. There was like $20 in Nicholas. I've given her a $20 bill every year on the same day I stole it. She thinks I'm an awesome auntie for it. I can't explain to her why. I just tell her she's earned it because she's so awesome. In reality, I was just a junkie and I've never been able to forgive myself. It's a way to remember your past and celebrate your sobriety while also being the best aunt ever. I'm a substance abuse counselor and I've heard some terrible things people have done for their drug. The worst has to be a guy that got custody of his 9-year-old niece when her father died of a heart attack. This guy was an addict, and within the first few days of having the girl, literally less than a week after her dad died, he shot her up with M. This IV usage was her first experience with any drug. He did this as a means to get her hooked on the drug so that she would be willing to prostitute herself to other users, dealers he knew, to get both of them more M. She did. Worst freaking thing I've read. I need a hug now. My uncle seemed like it would be a neat idea to sneak into my room, family reunion, and swipe my silver chain to hawk at the local pawn shop. I was 14 and had just lost the mass majority of my possessions to a storage unit we could no longer afford. I wish I was the man I am now back then, because I would have had enough control over my life to either beat the heck out of him or get him locked up. He now makes a living selling oxy and power tools that he steals. Scumbag. Not me, but my family, and incredibly horrible. Several years back, my uncle passed away. He was a self-made man, built his own fishing company, and started raising oysters. He was like the jolly lumberjack of the ocean. He lived in the water, for fishing, and was just one of the funniest and happy fishermen I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. The oyster business got big, and they were happy. Tragically, there was a freak accident with the air supply when he was underwater and he died. Now his son has been in and out of trouble with the law since he was a teenager, and had been getting into H. By the time his father died, it had come to dominate his life. Most of the family never knew where he was, what he was up to. Well, my uncle decided to leave his company and the incredibly valuable oyster beds to his 2 kids, a son and a daughter who at the time had just been married, with 1 kid and another on the way. Needless to say, the daughter had every intention of taking over her father's business. However, the son, needing more money and seeing an opportunity, sold the company to one of his father's rival fishing oyster companies after forging his sister's name on the deed docs for, I think, around $30,000, which is way undervalued. The sister and aunt found out from the folks who bought the company. They still have all the property. My aunt and sister never pressed charges because they didn't want anything bad to happen to the son. And they were still deep in the mourning. He's clean now and living in a sober house. Still an unimaginable blow to the family though, and from what I understand, financially crippling. TLDR. Uncle built fishing oyster company, had it made as self-made man, dies in accident. Drug addict son sells company for grossly undervalued to rival, financially devastating his mother and sister's new family. HS bad. Plenty of scams. Don't know where to start. I used to walk into Home Depots and go to the kitchen section and grab a $200 faucet head and run out of the store and take it to another HD and return it. When you don't have a receipt, they will only give you store credit on a gift card, which I would sell to this guy I knew for half of the value, $100, and go get some dope. That is. This went on for a few months before I was chased out of the store by employees, which I can't believe it took them that long to catch on. So one day I decide to just snag a gift card and sell to the guy for the same price. but it was blank, so needless to say he was furious, so that was the end of that scam. That's just one scam me and my friends came up with. I can share more if anyone would like. Also, I'm 2 years clean just in case anyone was wondering. I, too, did the Home Depot thing. Fortunately, there were a lot of Home Depots in the greater Cleveland area. They did start a new thing where you couldn't return stuff on the same id more than 3 times in a certain amount of time, but we had a number of people in our little Home Depot burn and return ring. I let a dude zap me with a cattle prod for some E4 10, wouldn't do again. I wasn't really an addict either, just wanted to party and the dude offered me the deal. I crapped my pants while convulsing. I'd have just handed over the $10. A schoolmate of mine robbed one of the local bakeries for the mere sum of around $200 debt. He was covering his face with a bandana that he had as a public profile picture on Facebook. Living in the family home with my brother who was an addict, there were hundreds of scams pulled, from the usual hocking everything in the house, even breaking into our new house before we'd moved in and hocking all the stuff we'd safely stashed there, including my entire $5 K DVD and games collection, to beating himself up and claiming people were chasing him for debts. I'm sure there's 100 times worse things he's done I don't know about, but the craziest one that comes to mind is breaking into my parents' place while we're on holiday. They'd put him up in a cheap hotel and calling an antique dealer to the house to appraise and buy all the antiques, decent furniture and art. Like I say, there would be many more things I didn't know about and plenty more I do know about but don't shock me as much as this one. But having the balls to call an antiques dealer to the house and flog it all off just takes the cake. Needless to say, for the majority of my teenage years we couldn't have any electronics or valuables in the house worth hocking, so we had huge ancient CRTs for years, no DVD players, set-top boxes, new consoles or even expensive clothes, as everything I owned would end up at the pawn shop. Oh, almost forgot. One time we're on a family holiday 5 hours drive from home. In the middle of the night my bro steals my dad's work car and laptop, drives 5 hours to home, steals anything left in the house. Got the car back okay, but obviously not the laptop and the stuff from home, and of course car keys now had to be guarded always. Oh, and thankfully we took 2 cars on the holiday. Nothing outwardly criminal, just rampant manipulation of doctors, family, and the system in general. That's how most of us do it. When my boyfriend was out of the country for 2 weeks, I pawned literally everything of worth in his house, including the vacuum cleaner. My thought was that 2 weeks was more than enough time to make enough money blowing guys from Craigslist to get all the stuff out of pawn by the time he got back. I spent it all on H and Coke. It was the night before he was arriving and I, of course, was unable to get any of his stuff out of pawn. So I staged a robbery by breaking one of his windows and leaving the door ajar. I picked him up at the airport, arrived at the house and acted as surprised as him when we discovered all his stuff was gone. Made a false police report and even gave a fake interview to the local paper. I blamed it on a non-existent gardener who I said I saw snooping around the place. The worst part is that this was right before Christmas, so I told my boyfriend they had also stolen $200 in Christmas gifts I had bought. He gave me $200 cash because he felt bad. I was a total piece of crap. Bright side, rehab finally worked and I just celebrated 3 years of sobriety yesterday. I'm not with the guy anymore. Also, I'm a guy. I probably should have included this, but yes, I have made amends to him. I haven't been able to pay back all the money I owe him yet. I stole a lot, but I currently have an installment plan in place where I pay him a set amount every month. More importantly, I made emotional amends. I made a heartfelt apology for all the things I did to him and I asked what I could do to make it better. Besides paying him back, he asked that I stay sober, which I am doing. Also, I didn't have to come clean with him because he figured it out and eventually kicked me out. Having no place to go, I ended up at the General Hospital downtown where, by luck actually, I was 5,250 due to my crazy behavior. This allowed me 10 days to detox in a hospital setting, and from there I went to a 90-day rehab, then to sober living for a year. Marian, I'm glad you're clean now and hope you're a better person, but frick pedigree not 3 years ago. Alcoholic checking in here. I used to wait for my wife to get in the shower at night and then stumble down my unlit half-paved street in my sweatpants and slippers in the rain to the corner liquor store, buy a bottle of cheap rot gut vodka, and then down the whole thing before she was done. She never knew I left the house. I know it's not sucking dong or anything, but I did it a lot and it was pretty low. My car got stolen in October by a rage addict. Me being stupid, I had 3 nice jackets and my laptop in it. He took those and ditched the car with no damage to it. Thanks to find my iPhone, in this case MacBook, and 2 very nice cops, I got the computer back and of course the car, but not my jackets. But here's the thing. My car had a ton of other crap in it. The kid could have trashed it and destroyed all my stuff, but he didn't. He just took the valuable things for drugs. I spoke to his family the next day. He had had a meeting with his parole officer shortly after ditching my car, came up positive and was back in jail. It was very sad to see, and even more so when I learned he was only a year older than me and went to my rival high school. I've probably met him in passing. It's sad what people do for drugs. Your high school rules. I've done a lot of things for drug money. Selling people fake drugs, home invasions, stealing from stores was a big one, etc. But the thing I feel the absolute worst about is stealing from my mother. She has always been extremely supportive, loving and nurturing. She makes about $30k a year, so naturally, she does not have a lot of money. My parents are divorced and my dad makes a lot more than her and would seem like the more obvious option. But I never stole from him. I always stole from her. I would forge checks, sell her jewelry, sell our electronics, threaten violence on her for money and many other things. I've held a chef knife to her throat for money before. Now I'm 2 years sober, and she loves me as if nothing ever happened. I can't imagine how she can deal with seeing me, never mind loving me. She is the main thing that keeps me from wanting to go back to using. Don't you ever go back. You've gotten out of it, now live your life and your mom will be glad and proud. I've never had drug problems but have had some encounters with my mom a bit like yours. Gives me goosebumps thinking about that. Guy I worked with stole all of his family's presents about a week before Christmas and pawned them. He went as far as to break a window so they looked legit. Cops got him on camera at the pawn shop. I hid in the bathroom of an illegal unfinished basement apartment while a homophobic seeker got a BJ from a delusional hippie because I didn't want to bother them while they were having a good time. Finally I got bored, so I walked out to swap comic books so I could have something new to read while I waited. Well, that ruined the mood for the guy. Then I begged the seeker to give me $2 off his panhandling money so I could use it for bus fare. That would get me to the Walmart where I could shoplift half a dozen bottles of Robitussin and a box of wine in my messenger bag. Then I'd bring it back so all 3 of us could party while listening to 70s psychedelic rock on the landlord's security camera computer that I helped the delusional hippie set up with VLC media player so we could rent CDs and DVDs from the public library next door so we wouldn't get so bored while hanging out and hiding from the landlord. I swear that every word of this is true. One time white in the past month I slept through my normal pickup time, and because I have no money, I robbed my friend at knife point. I've prostituted myself out, I've lied, I've allowed a fake check to clear so I could have the extra $100, putting me in the far negatives. But I think robbing that poor boy of all of his money on the day I knew he was sick, and I wasn't, would be the thing that defined me as a human being. Leading a sober life doesn't make me any better of a human being. It just prevents me from hurting more people. I answered your question, and I got flamed for it. Nobody said I was a good person. I don't think I am one. And I never said I was clean. All I said was that leading a sober life doesn't make me a better person. I'm currently clean but I have no plans on keeping it that way. I have been clean since the 1st of March 2013. I stole money from my family a lot. I wouldn't pay bills. I took out a loan for drugs and didn't pay it back. I would use in the bathrooms at work. I have stolen so much crap from stores to sell that I should be in prison for theft. Crap like this was normal for me. I may not have gone to the same lengths as some people have, but believe me, I would have if I knew it would work. Addiction is horrible, and if anyone thinks they have a problem with drugs or alcohol, get some freaking help. Best decision in my life was to get help. Anyone can stop using and find a new way to live. I am in NA and actually do step work, but you don't have to do 12-step programs. There are many options. Just get help, cause it will eventually land you in jail or a coffin. Heck, if it is bad enough and you burnt all of your bridges, you probably won't even get a coffin. You'll get a plastic bag and some ashes while everyone that knew you goes on with their lives grateful you won't use them anymore. Get some help. I am willing to offer my experience, strength and hope to anyone willing to stop using. Keep it up. You've made it over a year. Not a drug addict myself, but my father is. He is also a paranoid schizophrenic and a con artist. The worst I heard about was when my mom was 9 months pregnant with me. My older sister had been sent to his mom's house to be taken care of. My mom had been living in a homeless shelter in Florida waiting for him to be released from one of his many prison stints. She was cleaning houses to get by while pregnant with me. He got out a month or two before I was born. He started talking to a local car dealer. Told him he didn't have a job, just got out of jail, has one little girl and another on the way with no way to support them. Well, I don't know how it came up, but either the guy or my dad decided that he didn't need another baby girl and I would be better off with a car salesman. My dad got a couple $100 and a car out of the deal. The dealer was supposed to get me after I was born. Well, my dad, being the idiot he is, told my mom the good news. Thankfully my mother wasn't into drugs and she took whatever money she had and left him in the middle of the night so he couldn't sell me away. Found this out in high school. Apparently my mom had told my older sister but not me and told her not to tell me. My sister waited till we were fighting to tell me. Dad never wanted me anyway and he tried to sell you as a baby. Another time he was working for a construction company and decided he could get workman's comp if he got hurt bad enough on the job. So he took a box cutter or something sharp like it and cut himself while he was sighting in his company truck. But being the idiot he is, he cut too deep and ended up nikeing a rather major vein and spurting blood all over the truck. They figured out what happened and fired him. When my siblings and I were little, he would have us pack up all our stuff and tell us we were going to donate it to kids that had nothing at the Salvation Army. He would then drop us off at his mom's house with a change or two of clothes and sell the rest. He wouldn't tell my mom that he had taken us or where he left us. She would panic and freak out and call the cops, who would figure it out. He did this 2-3 times before my mom got a restraining order. My family is 3 generations of drug users. In Texas, there's not a lot of oversight on how you get drugs, so doctor shopping is incredibly easy. Since my childhood, my parents, painkillers, speed, aunts and cousins, Xanax downers, uncles, also the father of his nephew, inbred cousin, and grandparents, all of the above, and alcoholism, were addicted to their associated drugs. Depression ran in the family hard and my grandmother died at a young age due to self-inflicted gunshot. Stealing was an afterthought for them. My father and cousins alone stealing more than $100,000 worth of merchandise through the years from Academy Sports and Outdoors. They now have better security these days. They stole cars from friends that ended in jail time. That particular cousin recently died of a Xanax overdose. Luckily I never had possessions of value that could be pawned, so I was never stolen from. A common fraud they would do to make money is to crash each other's cars together. It did 2 things. Got them to hospitals where they would get painkillers and get them insurance money. One time my grandfather spilled a bottle of water in Home Depot and then slipped in it on purpose. That number got him $15K after attorney fees and we ate like champions for 5 months. The worst things they've ever done is a list that probably exceeds the character limit on Reddit. But a highlight includes stealing morphine from a patient my grandfather was treating the night his wife killed herself. He was with his secretary at the time. My mother was a prostitute stripper and obviously did many tricks, one of them being a police officer directly in front of me. I can still hear the dude's voice haunting me. Another time a long-haired man while I was playing Mega Man 2 in the same room. I could go on and on about the times she took me with her. I preferred when she left me at home with TV. You could say one of her worst offenses was taking me with her. The drive alone being extremely scary if you've ever dealt with someone so high and driving 85 plus mph down a 30 mile per hour road. Falling asleep pressing the wheel from the drug strength. I still send my father $100 on a prepaid debit card he has through Ace Check cashing from time to time, as he was in jail most of my life for identity theft and never hurt me directly. He stole his identity to get money for drugs, obviously. My mother is nearly paraplegic from an overdose that caused severe nerve damage and nearly killed her. My cousins all have children that are either retarded or autistic. I'm guessing fetal alcohol syndrome having something to do with it. As for what came of me, I graduated from the best school in Texas in CS, and with my wife we make over $300k a year enjoying our lives in Manhattan. No kids, 2 dogs, and a dog walker. I've never done drugs and only drink socially. If anyone wants to know more, feel free to ask. The worst day I can remember, cause I don't remember a lot, was getting out of jail that I had been in for the weekend. Calling my dealer whom bought my car after I got it back from a police raid of the other drug dealer I sold it to, knowing all the money they gave me went to drugs. Not paying the car off, it got repossessed a few weeks later. He picked me up for the ride, it cost me a blowjob while he was driving me back, and for a pill it cost me my butthole and the $26 I was booked with. So I got high and a ride home. So far my day was looking good. When I walked in my house, the place had been ransacked. My roommate said it was her fault, she would clean it up and knew where there was a party if I wanted to go. I declined and said I just wanted a hot bath and a Disney movie. If I told her I got a pill, she would have never left. When I was taking said bath, my front door opened. It was broke from police breaking it into many times, and then I heard multiple guys and one girl. Thought my roommate forgot something for her party. Apparently the house was ransacked because she had stole $3,000 worth of pills. So like 5 pills. And instead of selling them she smoked them. And the dudes wanted their money. Here I am smoking off foil in the bathtub. They break into the bathroom, pull me out by my hair, and my roommate scream, "How could you steal from me, Brittany?" Yes, she blamed it on me. There were 4 guys. One was yelling at me, then knocked me out. I woke up in a trunk, still naked, high, tied up, and gagged. All I remember after that are bits of pieces. Woke up cuffed to a hospital bed, but they injected so much heroin in me, broke my nose, 2 ribs, ripped my butthole and T, and I was whipped so hard I had 6 lacerations on my butt and back, as well as bruises around my neck and wrists. I was released and questioned by the police. They then put a patrol car on my road out because of my history with opiates. I was released with ibuprofen. I wanted to get high so bad, which is impossible when a cop is watching your house. So I said I didn't know who did it to me and did my best to tell the police I couldn't remember a thing. They stopped watching my house after 3 days and I was able to get drugs paranoid free. So those guys got away with debauchery so I could get high. After smoking pills for 3 years, at that point it took another year before I considered that I had hit rock bottom. I'm now 27 with 2 felonies, 510 credit score, working on it, down to $67,456 in debt and enrolled in school. More importantly, 5 years clean with no behavior medication. Go me, first time I've ever wrote this down. Drugs are bad. And 3 of those guys are in prison for other things and 1 died of an overdose 2 years ago. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.